Few cars match the street presence of the Isuzu V-Cross. I mean, look at it. It's almost 5.3 meters in length. That's longer than an S-Class. And it has four-wheel drive, and without breaking a sweat, it's got us to this fantastic off-road location. Now, in 2019, Isuzu has just updated this car with a minor facelift and some premium features that go well with this car's lifestyle character. What we have here today is the Hi-Plus Z Prestige version. Now this is the range-topping variant, and it comes with an all-new 1.9-litre diesel engine and a 6-speed automatic transmission. Is this the range-topping variant, the one to buy? We are here to find out just that. For the facelift, it gets new bi-beam LED headlamps with DRLs, a massive chrome grille, and some chrome inserts around the fog lamps. The Isuzu now sits on larger 18-inch alloys. Still, there's no hiding from the massive gaps in the wheel arches. Other new bits on the sides includes a new side step and a shark fin antenna on the roof. At the rear, the tail lamps get some LED elements, and the cargo gate appears a bit too busy as it is slapped with several badges in addition to the Isuzu lettering. Its interiors get some changes too. An all-black theme replaces the two-tone beige and black of the pre-facelift version, and I think this makes a lot more sense, and it goes well with this car's outdoorsy character. The black will be easier to maintain and won't get stained or soiled as easily as the earlier beige interiors. Now the seats have a nice upmarket feel to it. I'm not too sure about the carbon fiber pattern though. There's a nice soft touch bit here, there's this contrasting stitching, and even the hood of the instrument cluster has a nice soft feel. And it isn't merely the design that gets upmarket additions. Its feature list too includes premium kit like 6 airbags, cruise control, reverse camera, keyless entry, ESP, traction control, hill descent control, hill start assist, and a new MID being the prominent ones. The cabin scores high when it comes to practicality and usability. Now when I say usability, I mean the screen, for example, is rather basic to use. There's no Android Auto, there's no Apple CarPlay, but it does the basics just fine. And that aside, there are physical buttons to go through various menus, and they have a nice, tactile, long-lasting feel to it. Now that aside, in terms of storage, there's this nice open shelf here, there are twin glove boxes, cup holders, there's a center console which is quite large, there's a shelf below the driver's seat. What I don't like, however, is that where I would normally put my cell phone in front of the gear lever, there is just no space. What this car also has are 3 charging provisions in the front. There's one out here, a 12-volt socket out here, and there's also a new USB port right here to charge your phones. And how is the V-Cross for rear passengers? Now it's a bit of a trek getting into the back seat of the V-Cross, but once you're in, you'll realize it's a rather spacious place to be. There's ample knee room, there's ample headroom, the windows are big so it lets a lot of light inside the cabin, and the seat is wide enough to carry 3 in reasonable comfort. Even for the back seat passengers, there's a USB port, 2 cup holders, you have storage areas in the seat back pockets, and the doors can also hold 1-litre bottles each. And while on the topic of practicality, the cargo area remains largely unchanged, so it is still uncovered, and the plastic-lined bed boasts of a load carrying capacity of 235 kilos. Don't miss the 4 cup holders on the fold-down gate, which could also double up as a picnic table. Before getting to the drive assessment, here's what you should know if you were to use this truck on a day-to-day basis. The first thing is that it is just too long, and if you don't have a designated parking, finding a parking spot can be a bit of a challenge. Now if you need to make a quick U-turn in a tight spot, the steering is quite heavy, especially at these parking speeds, and the turning radius is not one of its strengths. Okay, now let's get to the talking point of this new V-Cross. It's all new 1898cc 4-cylinder diesel engine which produces 150 horsepower and 350 Nm of torque. so it is 16 horsepower and 30 Newton meters more than the larger 2.5 litre diesel that's available in the lower variants. Despite being an all-new engine, this 1.9 litre diesel engine isn't BS6 compliant just yet. The character of this engine is quite similar to the 2.5 litre, so the bottom end is almost as strong, and up to 3200 rpm is this engine's sweet spot. Spin it beyond that and it just makes more noise than movement. Keep the revs hovering around 2000 rpm and this motor builds pace in a strong manner, and its torquey character makes it an effortless cruiser while out on the open road. The 1.9 truck sprints from 0 to 100 in a respectable 13.22 seconds, which is over a second quicker than the 2.5. Mated to this engine is a 6-speed torque converter, which brings in the requisite dose of convenience while pottering this mammoth SUV around. It works well and does its job rather smoothly. However, put your foot down and there is quite a pause before downshifting. Now there is a Tiptronic mode to change gears manually. What most people will like, especially those who take their car off-road, is that this car holds on to the gear, it doesn't upshift automatically. Overall, this motor is quite refined, but it does get clattery when under load. And from there on, there's just no hiding from the fact that there's a big diesel mill underneath its bonnet. The steering is a hydraulic unit, but don't expect the levels of feedback like you'd get from a monocoque SUV. And then there's a lot of roll from this car when you're taking it quite fast around corners. So this is not a car you'd want to drive in a spirited manner on a hard section of road or a winding section of road. This is a car you'd want to go for longer drives on the highway, cruise at a steady speed, and relax and enjoy your drive. Isuzu has finally given cruise control with the V-Cross. One thing that I'd complain about is that I can't see what speed I've set cruise to. The large tires just smother the road imperfections or the tinier potholes really well. And despite riding on 18-inch wheels, road shocks seldom filter into the cabin. But when you talk about ride quality, when you talk about ride comfort, it isn't all that comfortable because there's always body movement felt inside the cabin. Low speeds, high speeds, there's always a lot of movement, and especially when the cargo area is completely empty and there's no load at the back, the rear suspension does tend to get quite bouncy. We also took the V-Cross through some rough sections. Now, as you might notice, the road to our shoot location is really bad and the ride inside is very bouncy. But still, the V-Cross feels almost indestructible. It's going over these bad surfaces without breaking a sweat. The V-Cross is typically a rear-wheel drive. However, it gets a 4-high and a 4-low mode to tackle some tricky situations. Still, this isn't a hardcore off-roader, as its long rear overhang hampers its departure angle, and if the cargo bed is empty, its rear wheels often struggle for grip in off-road scenarios. Among other safety features, this car also has hill descent control. So I've left my leg off the brake and the car is automatically braking and keeping a check on my downhill speed. To summarize then, this Isuzu V-Cross is a tough as nails 4x4 SUV that can go to places few other cars can, and it really brings out the adventurer in you. Now this car is a lot more practical than it looks. It is spacious to carry your friends and your family. It has the right amount of kit that you'd use on a day-to-day basis, and then the bed, the cargo bed, has advantages of its own. The automatic transmission and other aids have made the V-Cross a lot easier to live with than before. Still, as a daily driver, it isn't ideal due to its massive dimensions, heavy steering and its large turning circle. At 19.99 lakh, this truck is expensive. However, what you get are several premium yet usable features, a 4-wheel drive system and the convenience of an automatic transmission. and if it's sheer road presence you seek, there's simply nothing that comes close to the V-Cross at this price.